God help.
I need some help.
Help me! Help! You exploit them and spread whatever problems they have to the whole world. You think that's helping?
I love you. It's like, why don't we say that every day? Why can't we say it more often?
I just love you. I just want to go to the rooftops and scream, I love my best friend.
Howdy, y'all. What the fuck is up? I'm Willard, and you're listening to Twinkle Dads, an emo advice show. If you would like to send in a question asking for personal advice that you want to be answered by I and or one of our very special guests, you can do one of two things. You can DM me on Twitter and or Instagram at emo advice show, or email twinkledad69@gmail.com. Whether it's vague or way too TMI, or, it could be about anything and or everything, let us know. We want to help you help yourself, if that makes sense. Even though we're strangers and you probably haven't met me or any of the guests that come on, just know that we care for you. And, truly one of the greatest things we have in this world is empathy and the ability to love each other. And I feel like the first step to loving one another is learning how to love yourself. So truly, if you would like to reach out, it absolutely will be answered. We absolutely will have a very lovely conversation about it. So yeah, you can DM at emo advice show or email twinkledad69@gmail.com. Thank you so much. And we care for you. I care about you. I love you even. Anyways, yes, this is the first episode of the new and improved Twinkle Dads with Eric Butler of Mom Jeans. I feel like I really don't know how else to introduce this besides the fact that it's fucking Mom Jeans. One of the most pivotal emo bands to blow up in the past 10 years. And we kind of talk about it, what it's like to still be functionally DIY while having such a huge audience and, going on such a crazy headlining tour in a month. And then we just kind of talk about staying true to your roots and ensuring that no matter what, no matter what's going on, you're still doing what you love. And then we answer questions about figuring out how bands work and just working with your friends and people you care about, followed by answering a question about etiquette at shows and what it's like to, how to go about asking out someone that you're potentially interested in, but there are a few barriers in between you. So, yeah, without further ado, here's my conversation with Eric from Mom Jeans, but first, a song. Hippo, parentheses, in the water, parentheses, by Mom Jeans, off of their latest acoustic/redux album, Bear Market. Thank y'all so much, and I hope you enjoy. Bye-bye.
Hippo in the water, drinking all the water. Hippo in the water, drinking all the water. Thirsty, thirsty hippo, drinking all the water. Where'd all the water go?
You know I love you every second, every hour, every day. If you're feeling insecure, I know exactly what to say. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Waking up the neighbors as we get into your house. Then you look me in the eyes, ask me to kiss you on the mouth. So I do. I do. Nobody wants to end up lonely. Everybody wants to fall in love. Even when you think that you don't need me, I think it might be
Hello, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Eric, and I play in a band called Mom Jeans.
Hell yeah. I I guess just to pick to get started, a quick icebreaker question.
Yeah.
If you had to describe how your day is going as a kind of liquid, which liquid would you pick and why?
Oh, that's a good. Probably mud, like cold mud. Because mud could be a lot of different things. It can be fast, it can be slow, but like cold mud, that's kind of how the week is going right now. Weather and everything playing into that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. Well, I don't know. Maybe mud's not like the worst thing, you know?
Yeah, it's not necessarily like bad. It just is, it's very earthen and it's very constituted and it's mud's always gonna be there.
Yeah. And it's like sometimes you're excited to see mud, and then other times you're just like, I don't need to fucking deal with this right now.
Exactly.
Oh, that's fair. So, yeah, I guess just the first question I have is, how are you doing? How is Mom Jeans doing with, like, you have the very grand tour coming up in a month. You have the AHL All-Star Tour, Bear Market released in the past or at the end of last year. So yeah, just how's everything going?
Things are going good. It's interesting. I feel like that's like it sounds like a simple question, but it's like not, right? Like it's I don't know, like things have been, I feel like since I last like thought about it or like checked in, I feel like, we put out Sweet Tooth now almost 2 years ago. And just been kind of like riding that wave and doing a lot of touring and stuff and following a Sweet Tooth, like we decided to tackle this like bear market project. And that got an interesting response, to say the least. And following Sweet Tooth, we've really just been trying to, I guess, put ourselves as a band and as, like songwriters, just kind of in as good of a place as we possibly can to kind of move on into the next chapter of this band. I don't know if we necessarily made it super obvious or talked about it too much, but like for us, in a way, like Sweet Tooth was very much sort of like a concept album in a way. It was, like our attempt to like make music that was more inherently, like radio friendly and had, like more of a broad appeal. Like the approach to this band has always been very much to satisfy our own musical impulses first and kind of like not care what anyone else thinks. And Sweet Tooth was our first time like actually kind of thinking about like what your average music listener listens to, and not even necessarily the people who are as plugged into music as a lot of our fan base or a lot of our existing fan bases, and try to get ourselves into the ears of maybe people who are less invested and less involved in like finding the next musical thing for them, right?
Sure.
And with that, we know that about ourselves, but like that's not necessarily like obvious. A lot of people might look at Mom Jeans post Sweet Tooth and be like, oh, well, this is just what they sound like, and I don't necessarily like this anymore. And we've just been thinking about, like what is the next phase for Mom Jeans? Like what is the next, like were we really happy with, Sweet Tooth? Do we feel like we have more of those kinds of songs in us? Do we want to explore what those would sound like? Do we want to kind of go down that path, or do we want to kind of rethink? Do we want to do something new that we've never tackled before? Do we want to do something a little bit more back to our roots and a little bit more back to basics, and throwing around a lot of those ideas? And Bear Market fits into that in a really interesting way, because I feel like, in all honesty, like we were just getting told constantly by everybody, it's like, you need to do an acoustic record. Like you are leaving money on the table by doing an acoustic record. And like people want to hear these songs. Like they love these songs already. So just, like give them another version to listen to. And that's all good and well, but I wasn't super stoked on like the money grab aspect of that, you know what I mean? And at least for me, like I don't want to, like, not to hate on anybody, but I've seen that work out for other people and not be awesome. It was very clear that they were just trying to, print money, and they weren't interested in really making music. It was just kind of copy paste, like take the singer and the guitar player and stick them in the studio for 2 days, and have them play all their top songs with a couple guitars and a couple vocalists. And with Bear Market, we really kind of got crazy. And we were just like, dude, this sounds more like remixing our old songs and like actually making them new in a way. And also, like, for us, exploring sonic territory that we've just never gotten to really do with this band before, was something that it felt a lot more exciting, and it felt a lot more genuine to do it that way, than to maybe just quote unquote give the people what they want or whatever, or what people supposedly wanted. So that's been like really interesting, like kind of like putting out like that song Alameda County Fair, which is like more acoustically driven and kind of was like foreshadowing like Bear Market that was coming. It's really interesting to see how that has like kind of shaped people's opinions of this band, or at least like our core fan base, like I feel like people really just don't know what to expect from us, or if they think they know what to expect from us, like they are probably not right. Which is kind of fun in a way. Like, I feel like we kind of got a little bit of this, like, simultaneously, on one hand, we're doing like the biggest tour that we've ever done, like playing some of the biggest shows that we've ever played. And on the other hand, we have a little bit of this like underdog narrative amongst the people who are really, really invested in this band. And we're kind of trying to lean into that right now and really think about just doing us again, and just trying to satisfy our own musical impulses, and spend a lot of time thinking about like why we became a band in the first place, and why we started making music in the first place, like really on some spiritual shit. And it's been really fun. And so I think to wrap it all up and to sum it up and answer your question, like, things are good. Things are good with Mom Jeans. I think we're a band who is kind of always constantly evolving, both like on the business side of things, because we run our own business. Like, we don't have a label. We don't have like big crazy managers, or like we got a couple suits, but like we don't have that many suits working on our behalf. And we're always evolving because of that. And then just like, I think most groups of artists are like pretty good friends, probably like pretty invested in each other as people. But I can say for certain that like this band is we are particularly invested in our relationships as friends first, before bandmates. And that is an interesting dynamic, because it can always, like it's not always easy to just move forward and do the things that the band needs to do if everybody isn't all on the same page. But, like the band, the four of us, the core playing members, have honestly never felt like kind of more unified than we do right now, have never really felt like more on the same page, both like music and business and life wise, which is really, really awesome and really, really cool. It feels like we learned a lot from the process of releasing and touring on Sweet Tooth. And like anything else that we've done in the past, like the goal is just like do a thing, take what we've learned and apply it to the next opportunity and apply it to the next experience, and hopefully just get a little bit better, a little bit stronger, a little bit leaner each time.
Yeah. I know that's very delightful to hear. And I think a lot of, I think like good points get brought up. I think too, primarily is like how much I think like art grows in general, whether it's like music or like, film, like any form, how much it grows when you kind of realize that you do have to like think about the audience in like some way. Cause like at first it's like, what? Like I'm losing authenticity, but in a way it just like, I think, it just kind of like helps you like channel like, directions and feel more secure. So
it's like a new level of self-awareness that I think I have shied away from, in the past. And I don't judge or look down on anybody who shies away from that, because it like sometimes it can really like mess with your relationship with music, and it can really mess with your relationship with art. But I think that like piggybacking off of that, like one thing that I'm grateful for and I realize is that like at least the four of us in Mom Jeans, like we have a lot of other outlets. As individuals, the four of us have a lot of different outlets. You know, like Austin plays in a ton of bands with different people and drums on a ton of bands, you know, albums, and he gets to musically, you know, stretch his legs in a lot of different places. You know, Sam's in Just Friends. He writes his own music, you know, like he's a fucking legend in his own right, doing his own thing. Same thing with Bart, like an incredible songwriter, an incredible artist and musician just independently on himself. And so it's been really nice. And yeah, I've just been getting more into like art. Like I've been like blowing glass and like getting into different forms of just like physical art. And it's nice having like kind of those outlets to be able to just like do whatever the fuck you want to do and not have to answer to anyone else. And I think that like, yeah, like managing that heightened level of self-awareness of like trying to simultaneously like do what's right for you and like satisfy all of your impulses and like all of your needs as an artist, but also be self-aware enough to understand what people like about what you're doing or what people might like about what you're doing. And because you can do a better job communicating or sharing that art once it's done and once it's made, if you have a better understanding of what it is and what people are expecting. You know, and that's like, yeah, like I said, it's not always a fun process. I think that, you know, we have definitely resisted that as much as anybody else would, but you get to a point where you have no choice, but you just got to kind of keep doing it, because we'd be doing ourselves a disservice. We'd be doing our staff a disservice. We'd be doing the people who have invested their time and their money and their listenership in this band a disservice if we didn't think about that at all. And if we were just like, no, like I'm just gonna go make some weird like instrumental album that like nobody wants to hear, and like screw all you guys, like I'm an artist, like. And I think in a way like this band, but like this band in particular, at least for me, has always been not just about the music itself. It's not just about the songs. It's like very community oriented. It's very much about like live performance, and it's very much about, you know, like sharing information and trying to get more people involved in music and trying to get more people involved in DIY and in touring. And I think that like, yeah, if all we cared about was like cool people that we thought were cool, like listening to our music, and like no not cool people liking or listening to our music, then things would look really, really different. And like we wouldn't have nearly like the kind of resources that we have now. So I think it's like a balancing act for sure. But you know, like we're very privileged. You know what I mean? Like that's the flip side of that, is that like everybody's entitled to make art, but nobody's entitled to have anyone respond to it. Nobody's entitled to have anybody pay them for it. So you always gotta take things with a grain of gratitude as well, I think. And you know.
Yeah, I think especially because like, you know, Mom Jeans is still like, I feel like very much like covers like a middle ground of, like you said, where it's like DIY like roots and upbringing, but just so happens to be headlining the Palladium, you know, while still like, you know, maintaining those like core values.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's weird, and I think that that's a space. I mean, it's funny, right? Like Real Big Fish has a song about it, bro. Like Sell Out, you know what I mean? Like bands, and as long as, you know, I'm not a super big history buff, but as long as I guess like the modern, you know, music industry has existed, you know, we'll say, you know, like 2000 and following, like this, you know, this radio like festival, like MTV centric, like social media fueled like music industry has come around, you know, like it's just it's kind of like weird to be like a DIY band, I guess. And there's like, yeah, it's kind of fun at the same time. And it's like it has I don't know, it has its pros and it has its cons, but at the same time, like we just love getting to mess around and do that, you know?
Yeah. No, that's absolutely fair. So how did y'all, I guess, I was about to ask, how did y'all book the AHL like All-Star Weekend performance? But I feel like since it's in the Bay Area, like semi makes sense of like, oh,
Yeah.
like
That's a good. I think that's just, like that's why you pay money to booking agents and you pay money to managers and people who work those kind of connections for you and stuff. And luckily, maybe somebody who works for the San Jose Barracudas is a fan and put our name up the chain. But one way or another, they got in contact with our people and our people made it happen. So that's really, really awesome.
that's sick. Are you a hockey fan at all, or?
So like I don't follow hockey super closely, but I am pro hockey. I enjoy watching it when I do. I'm Canadian and like my whole family is Canadian, so hockey's in my blood to a certain extent. And then, Sam like he's just a sports fan, like period. He just loves sports. And then our guitar player Bart, like actually he plays hockey. So he plays hockey for Fresno State. So that's really, really cool. We're excited for it.
That's sick. No, I'm definitely very excited for y'all, and I think everything going on. I think the like one last note before I do kind of move on.
Yeah.
Like the final question before the advice questions, because like, we kind of covered a lot of the topics is you're talking about just like not wanting, like finding a way to like think about the audience and like not selling out. And I think, what's cool about bear market is like the sellout would be like just a fully like stripped down, like, version of it. But instead, and I think I've like read this in another interview and could also just tell, it's like y'all, like, especially in the production, like interpolated like so many influences that you wouldn't be able to on like Sweet Tooth. I know y'all cite like Howdy and stuff, which is like sick. And I listen to it, I'm like, this fucking rules,
Yeah.
It just seems like a cool way to like gateway like part of your audience to like, oh, here's music we love that we believe you would also love,
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see like kind of the response. And when you see like how many people were not stoked about bear market and like how like abrasive the comment section was, like when we put that out, like I was a little butthurt, like I won't lie. But at the same time, like that's the risk that you take with like being honest with yourself. And like who's to say that like people would have liked it anymore if we had just done that, like that would have been the cheaper option, it would have been the faster option, it would have been the easier option, but it was certainly less fun for us. And I think the one thing that we have always stood on is like, even when we're thinking about other people and trying to include maybe a broader fan base or folks who haven't been exposed to us before, like if we're not having a good time, if we're not having fun, if we're not enjoying ourselves, like if we don't like the product that we're selling, then like people are going to be able to tell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if we're just like dancing monkeys who bang the cymbals together for $20 at a time, people are going to see that and they're going to notice that. And I think honestly, like we're not good enough to like do that. Like I don't believe that this band, I don't believe that we're good enough musicians, and I don't believe that we're cool enough people or interesting enough people to just take people's money for the sake of like entertaining them. I think there needs to be something really genuine, and there needs to be something true about what we're doing, and we need to feel that in our hearts more than anything. And we would never be able to like share that. We would never be able to be vulnerable and like share that with people, because that's what you do when you share music and when you share art, like on any level, like you are being vulnerable with people. You are sharing a certain aspect of yourself. And like if we're gonna do that, we might as well be, I would much rather be like spurned for who I am than like loved for who I'm not, like that cliche kind of saying. And it's interesting to see how that plays out. But at the same time, it feels like I have no regrets. I love how that album sounds. I think it's one of the coolest things that we've ever done. Like 40 Hands, that guitar riff sounds like $1 million, and I will die on that hill. And I never believed that I was going to be in a situation where I was going to be able to go into a studio and make something that sounded that good and made something that sounded that hi-fi or that included elements of pop and indie and all of these different genres of music that mom jeans won't realistically have the opportunity to like touch on, which I appreciate that you notice that and like see that, like that's super cool. And you know, like we hope that people will see that, and we hope that people will you know, like see that we're happy and see that we're stoked. And I think kind of what helps us sleep well at night is knowing that at least what we're searching for when we are trying to you know, quote unquote make new fans, like we are searching for a genuine connection with people. Like I don't want to trick anybody into liking this band. I don't want to gimmick anybody into liking this band. I don't want anybody to, you know, necessarily like care about us or come to our shows because they're hopping onto a bandwagon of any kind. Like I really do genuinely hope that every person who comes to our shows or interacts with our music like finds some type of relationship for themselves like with that music. And I think that like yeah, and we know that like if we are being true to ourselves and some people don't like it, then maybe those people weren't necessarily, not to be rude and not to be like, oh, we didn't want them as fans anyway, but you know, those aren't the people whose opinions like I need to be concerned
Right.
with. Like kind of like, again, to be cliche, it's like don't listen to your haters, like listen to your fans. You know what I mean? Like the Michael Scott saying. And it's like I'm always going to be more interested in the opinions of the people who have been here with us since the very beginning, who have been coming to our shows before we were quote unquote popular. And I'm always going to care more about the opinions of the people who have, you know, taken whatever experience we've shared with them and or whatever, you know, positive energy like we've been able to bring to their life. They've taken that and like done something with it, whether it's, you know, starting a band or starting a podcast or, you know, getting the internship at the local record label, and like whatever galvanizes you to like make your move and start doing the thing and set your future up so that you can actually get your hands on this thing and be involved in a tangible way. I think those people are always going to kind of they're going to be tuned in to what's going on with us, and they're always going to like, there's a certain amount of them that's going to see us being happy and it's going to make them happy. I hope like that's what like good normal people like want out of the people that they care about, right? So
Yeah, I think, yeah, I mean, genuinely, as like, I don't know, my mind is like split into two on that, because I think like one, from like a fan perspective, it's like mom jeans, like definitely from like, I don't know, like I think has always just kind of like maintained that like realm of like positive like influence, whether it's like outsourcing for like music and like the scene in general, you know, like ever since like high school, you know, like yeah, telling friends that like, you know, that this was happening, they're like, I can't believe it. I'm just like, yeah, no, but it's like, you know, it's sick. And I just think that's just like all of like the positive influence that y'all have had. So I think just like overall, thank you. Secondly, I think like, but like with bear market, it's like on that note of just like, yeah, of course not everyone was going to like it. Like, you know, like there are definitely people who still like, you know, will still fuck with it. It's like, that's bear market seems like a much more like worthwhile risk than like releasing Alameda County Fair and having like a sped up version, having a slowed and reverb, you know, an 8-bit all in one. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool. It's fun. I think, I don't know, like as you said that, I was thinking about it too, and like one thing that came to mind, I guess, was I think this idea of like all the things I said prior being true, like in a way this band is never going to stay like in one place sonically. Like I don't think any band should or like really does, like realistically. You know, but I think that like maybe there's a certain element of like people who haven't maybe like been around us like too long, or like to know and understand like, oh, okay, they're gonna go do this like Puppy Love album that's like really really guitar focused and like doesn't have a single like vocal melody that's like catchy on it or whatever, and then they're gonna go ahead and they're gonna do this Sweet Tooth thing and it's gonna be like radio crazy stuff, and then they're gonna go and it's like whether or not you love every single thing that this band puts out is like not important. Like chances are something's gonna hit for you, whether it's a song here or a song there or a video there. And we just hope that it like whatever that is, that it is enough and that it's like real enough and that nobody has to feel guilty or has to wonder if them just liking one song, like actually liking it is enough for us to care about like their participation. And it is. And I think when people find that out, they get stoked and they want to be a part of it, which is what I hope. Like everybody just wants to be a part of something, you know,
Right.
at the end of the day, realistically. And I think that like in our daily lives, we get told no probably more often than we do get told yes, as far as like getting to do that. And it's refreshing sometimes to meet people who are actually like want to get to know you and want to be friends with you and don't want to just like take advantage of you, like see what you have to offer and like and value it and want to like, you know, make whatever is happening accessible to them. And I hope that that shows. I hope that it shines through. The one thing that like makes me feel good is like when people tell me like at the end of the show, that's like, oh, this was like one of the best shows I've ever been to. Like just like so much fun, or like, and even the people that like will open for like Motion City Soundtrack or will open for, you know, Taking Back Sunday or somebody, and they'd be like, I had no idea who you were before I came here, but like you guys were just great. And those kind of comments like validate to me that like at least some part of what we're trying to do is getting through to people. So
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think just all excellent and very, you know, very fair. I think that's just like an overall like morale of art. It's just like it's I don't know. It's always good to have validation in some one way or another, but like especially validation for like, you know, you're being validated for doing what you want to do and like, you know, what's important to you. I have so on the topic of I think just shows and different styles of music. The last question I have is because I want to talk to you about like hardcore and punk.
yeah,
That's always like I will
let's
hear
go.
mentioned in crossing, but I'm like, okay, so this is like a question, a twofold question.
Sure.
One, what's some of your favorite hardcore, like right now or just in general? And two, let's say that Mom Jeans was offered a huge lump sum of money to organize a 5-band mixed bill with them on it. Who would you pick? Like, you know, who would you / y'all pick and why?
Oh, that's good. Okay, so we'll start with the first one. So I have to preface this like I am a admirer of hardcore music. I'm an admirer of the hardcore scene. I am not necessarily an active participant. I'm not a big mosher. I'm not a big elbows guys. I'm not a big pit guy. That's just my personal preference. I like to stand and watch the band. I'm the dude like leaning against the bass cab, just like looking at everybody's pedal boards. Like that's where I like to be. And so I think my favorite hardcore band of all time is Soul Glow. I think they're just like the sickest band. I think that they're pushing the boundaries of like what is expected sonically from hardcore bands, similarly to the way that Turnstile kind of like really changed like what people's perception of what hardcore music actually is. And I think they just write some of the most like intuitive and thoughtful and like relevant like lyrics. Like they're just so talented. Like everybody in that band is just like so talented. Yeah, this isn't like maybe super modern, but like I really like Gouge Away too. Like I think that they're I don't know if they like constitute as like a hardcore band, but like they're heavy punk band, like hardcore punk band. They're so good. I'm super stoked that they're back and that they're playing music again. Burnt Sugar like is still an album that I listen to all the time. Um, who else? That's a really good. There was some. Shoot, there's another one I was listening to. I'm gonna look it up on my phone because I can't forget this one because I've been listening to this band so much. I'm gonna be so mad at myself if I haven't saved it. Shoot. I'm so mad at myself. I can't find it. It's this. I'm gonna like email you like afterwards and like tell you like about this band because they're so sick. And I'm just blanking on it. But yeah, I don't listen to hardcore too much, but like I'm just a big admirer of the scene. I think that that's probably where some of the most actual like cutting edge and exciting things in the music scene period like happen. I think it's one of like the bravest like bravest settings where people are just like I think they say and do like some of the most outlandish shit, but like it needs to be said and it needs to be done and it pushes the dial forward. And I think that that's really, really awesome. Scowl is another, I have to shout out Scowl because Bay Area legends. And I just it makes me and Drain too. I like seeing people from the Bay Area winning. I like dubs coming from the Bay Area scene. So yeah, those are some. And then the other besides Soul Glow, like Trapped Under Ice is the other band that like I always go back to. Like Heat Wave is probably one of my like favorite like hardcore albums. I think the way that it sounds, and how natural it is was like really cool. To me, but yeah, I apologize for my lack of hardcore knowledge.
Oh no, you're all good. I'm sorry if that was like too much on the
No,
spot.
it's all good. I love talking about it. It's just that like my knowledge is limited. So as long as people understand that like I'm speaking like as an outside fan, like not someone within the belly of the beast, you know?
Yeah. So I think on that note, then the 5-band mix bill, I think just like if you had to pick any 4 bands, whether like defunct or it's still kicking it, like what would be the ideal like gig? Or not even an ideal gig, like it could be a crazy lineup. You're like, oh, this would be ridiculous, you know?
I'll keep it to like active bands that are like actually that would actually play a show like today. If I like actually call it out, I think oh dang, that's not even right. Shit. I'd bring back modern baseball, dog. I won't even lie to you. Like I just want to like they're my favorite band of all time. It's no secret. I've said it a million times. I'll say it a million more times. Like they're the reason why I got into playing guitar. They're the reason why I got into like really writing songs. So if I could get to open for modern baseball, that would be freaking sick. Honestly, like I would just I would want Mom Jeans to be like the opening band on like some Tiger's Jaw, Pity Sex title fight, like Mobo, like crazy Philly shit that I was too young and on the other side of the country to experience and never got to like see with my own eyes. That's what it would do. It would be Mom Jeans, Pity Sex, Tiger's Jaw, title fight, modern baseball.
That's a fucking really solid lineup. I think could sell a lot of tickets as well, but also just like that would just be like a dream to watch live.
Oh yeah, I would probably kill myself that night because I know that my life would peak at that moment. There'd be no point in continuing to live.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you, honestly. But yeah,
a boy can dream.
Yeah, fucking crossing fingers.
Yeah, I'd love to get to play a show with Tiger's Jaw one day. That would be awesome.
Yeah, Tiger's Jaw is so good. But yeah, so I think before we go, thank you so much for, I guess, just answering all of those questions. It was
of course.
A delight to hear your insight on all of that. Before we go in, usually I will play a song from the album that we're talking about to go into the advice questions. If I had to play any song from Bear Market to go into this, which song would you pick and why?
I would pick Tie Dye, I think. I think of all of the songs on Bear Market, that's the one that really excites me for a couple reasons. I think that, like, yeah, getting to channel, not even necessarily just Howdy, but getting to channel a band like that, channel bands like Howdy, bands like Bigger, Better, Son, like really more electronically and vocally driven, indie music. That's not something we've ever really gotten to touch on before. And then also like having Austin do lead vocals on a song is something that I've been asking for since we started the band. So, and it was really great to see, like, I don't know how stoked people were to like hear his voice, which made me really, really happy. So that would be my pick.
Excellent. His vocals on that song are like fantastic. So
He's the best singer in the band. It pisses me off, dude. Like I get so mad. He goes into like do harmonies and stuff, and I'm just like, you
motherfucker.
exactly.
Yeah. So on that note, thank you so much. And this is Tie Dye off of Mom Jean's Bear Market.
Cruise down the long road and cut through the black smoke. I wake up to miss you, but that's in the rear view. I'll be fine, you'll be gone, always doing something wrong. It feels like you just don't care. Happy as I seem, facing all my dreams, building up in me this love for anything but you. Fist bumps, no handshakes, turn ashes to snowflakes, red curves and french fries, a mattress and sauce. Can choose, stop and start, make a move, it's not that hard. You don't seem like yourself today. Happy as I seem, facing all my dreams, building up in me this love for anything but you.
Dear Eric and Twinkle Dad, I've been trying to get the ball rolling on a project with my band, but I'm having trouble motivating the other members to work on it. Whenever we schedule practice, at least 2 people cancel, no one wants to learn the songs, and we can't seem to get any momentum. I don't know if I'm pushing too hard or not hard enough, and I'm getting to a point where my mental health is starting to go downhill due to this. However, I'm not ready to throw the towel in yet. Do you have any advice that would help me breathe passion back into this project for my other bandmates, or just get them to take it more seriously? Thank you. Sincerely, Tommy in Tupelo.
Okay, Tommy, that's a good question. I think that's first of all, I'm bummed and I feel for anybody who's in that type of situation. I think that this phase that the person who asked this question they find themselves in is probably one of the hardest spots to be in when it comes to like trying to make and release music and get a band off of the ground. I think that my advice, like not to sound cliche or anything, would be to stay strong and like keep your head down and really focus on writing your songs and really focus on pouring yourself into your music and making the material as good and as you possibly can. There's always going to be a lot of factors that influence whether or not a band can come together, in like to contrast that, like there's tons of successful bands that haven't been able to stay together or tour or manage their relationships because it's still difficult to get everybody on the same page and to care as much. It sounds like Tommy, this individual is probably someone who is very, very invested in music and probably really, really cares about trying to get involved in their local scene, like really wants that. You probably really want that for yourself. And if you do, like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's not always going to be people who want that as much as you do. That's a feeling that I can definitely identify with, and I can definitely empathize with, because I feel like I'm somebody who's just very, very driven, and I feel like my want to do things and my desire to be involved in things is always going to be bigger than my capacity to actually do it, or even my talents or what I have to offer in that situation. But like, be patient with yourself and be kind to yourself, and understand that there's only so much that one person can do when it comes to putting a band together. And I think that the other side of that too, like something that I didn't mention is, it's worth asking yourself the question of how important is a band to me versus, putting out music, period. I think that there's tons of great examples of both bands and individual artists who, put aside the time and put aside, the financial burden to like record and make their songs and make their art and get it out into the world. And once that happens, they find themselves surrounded by people who want to be in their band, who want to help them get their career off the ground. And it's really, really, really tough when you don't have the existing music out there. And so I think it's worth asking yourself, like, how badly do I need the assistance and the help from these bandmates? Like, do I need their help writing these songs? Am I capable of just writing these songs on my own? Can I write the guitar parts? Can I write the bass parts? Can I write the drum parts? Can I possibly find a producer, an engineer who can play these instruments that I maybe can't play? Like, it is much easier. It's actually easier now than it's ever been to make your music and to record it and to get it out into the world. And so that would be my advice, is just, maybe try to reduce some variables and just think about the absolute bare minimum of what you need to get your music recorded and to get it out into the world. Because once it's out there and once people know what you sound like and people know what you're going for and they know what your vibe is, you're going to find people who want that just as bad as you do. And, thinking back to like my younger self and thinking back to, starting bands and starting this band, I think we have a tendency to think that whoever is the best at this instrument that I know, or maybe the person who is just as into this band, those are the right people that I should be starting, a band with, or starting a project with, or trying to, make art with. And for me, I've learned that I've had much more luck and been much more successful when I find myself around people who want what they want as badly as I want what I want. And maybe their favorite band isn't modern baseball, right? Like, maybe they're into Terra Mellis, or maybe they're into math rock, like maybe they're into butt rock, like who cares? But if that fool has their own guitar and has their own amp and shows up to practice when you book it, that's the person that you want in your band, not necessarily the guy who's the best at tapping, or the person who has the nicest amp, or the person who, knew a guy who was in this band or whatever. And that would be my advice. That's obviously a pretty open-ended advice column, but I think that there's a lot, you have a lot more options than you think you do. And I think that if a band, like a true band where you're collaborating with other artists and other instrumentalists and stuff, if that's what's important to you, and if that's the most important thing, then you're going to have to be patient with those people and understand that relationships and communicating with those folks and, navigating just what it means to be a collective group of people first before it means to be a band is something that you're always going to have to, invest time in. And that's not something people always think about when they think about starting a band. Like, they think about chord progressions, and they think about lyrics, and they think about practice space, and they think about PA system. They don't think about like, oh, do I actually know how to speak to 4 friends at once and, get those people together. And it may, not to keep rambling and stuff, but like, it may be just brainstorming. It may be worth, just talking to those people and letting them know that that's how you feel. And you may find out that, like, you are doing or not doing things that make those people want to be involved and make them want to be spending time doing that. And that's always, if I can give like a true page out of the mom jeans like advice, like talk to your band, talk to your friends. Like you would be surprised how much you don't talk about what is actually going on when you're just trying to write music and when you're just trying to work on an album.
Right. Yeah, I very much will like second all of that, and especially like the idea of like realizing what your priorities and like, you know, what the variables are in this, because it's like, you know, I think for you, Tommy, it's like, you know, think about it. Like, what's most important? Having a band with these people, the music you're releasing, or just like having a band in general? Because it's like, yeah, if it's music you can like release and do by yourself, like that's okay. Like, you know,
Absolutely.
kind of, yeah, learn to adapt, and I think just like feel out the wavelength. But yes, I think to second you, Eric, it's like communication. Communication is great, especially in the collaboration process, because like personal communication doesn't really happen that much if you're talking so much about like, you know, fucking chord progression, you know.
It's easy to get into the weeds, to say the least. It's easy to get into the weeds and avoid talking about the important stuff that's actually going to make it easier to work together.
Yeah. So I think especially like that too, if it's like a lot of the emotion is like not like outright delivered, but like someone will say something passively about something you're writing. So like, okay, we can just solve this up front or just like let it get worse.
Yeah.
So I think, Eric, do you have any song recommendations to help Tommy?
Yes, I do. It's by a band called Pleasant Thoughts. This is a deep cut for you. So, you know, Sam from Mom Jeans and Just Friends, he's probably like the single most influential, you know, person like in my life, like as a musician and as a performer. And his favorite band of all time, like the reason why he plays music and the reason why he plays songs, is a band called the Motorcycle Industry. I don't know if you've ever heard of that band. Insanely good band. And that band is not around anymore, but the gentleman who fronted that band, Motorcycle Industry, has now, you know, 10 or 15 years later, started a new band with some of the old guys from the project, and put out an album under the name Pleasant Thoughts. And they just put out an album last year called Second Holy Communion. And the song that I would recommend for Tommy is called Someone Else's Band. The first lyric is doing the best I can, playing in someone else's band.
That's so very suitable. That is.
Yeah. And the song is really, it's truly about like missing playing music and like wanting to have a band again and wanting to do it.
Yeah. No, I like that. I'm very excited to listen to it. I think it's always funny, quick side note of just like song recommendations, because sometimes like some people be like, oh, I was listening to this song in a specific situation or something like that, where it's just like, it's kind of blatantly about it and it's good.
Well, and emo and bummer punk music is that's your world for on the nose song recommendations about weird shit.
That is true. Always like the most fucking hyper specific thing exists.
But yeah, this album is so good. Second Holy Communion. If you're into just like bummer punk, it's SoCal, just like emo tinged. Like, yeah, it's fucking badass. It's such good music.
Sick. So I think, is there any last thing you would like to say to Tommy before we play someone else's band and then go on to the second question?
Good luck and don't give up. I think that the single biggest thing that I want to see happen for you is that I want to hear your music. I want your album to come out. I want your band to play shows, and I want to hear it. Like that experience and the process of learning and the bonding that takes place as you figure that out with people and with your band and with your collaborators is, in my opinion, the single most gratifying and exciting experience that I've ever come across in my life. And it's something that I really hope you get to experience too. It's something that I hope everybody gets to experience. And so I'm rooting for you, Tommy.
We are rooting for you, Tommy. I hope that this advice does you well. And yes, please let us listen to your music. That's all. We're rooting for you. Good luck and don't give up. This is the Pleasant Thoughts with someone else's band, and we'll get on to the second question. Thank you so much.
Doing the best I can, playing in someone else's band. Sometimes I write songs, sometimes I just pretend I'm in the spotlight again, bowing in front of all your friends. Should've dropped out of college and never paid the rent. Worthless degrees and debt, you couldn't change my mind. Honey, I was hell-bent. No sense in facing this all alone. No chance of getting out clean. You're fighting tears as you smile at me. The future we'll never see. Is it really all that bad? Is there really so much I don't have? Constant longing just beyond your grasp. So bow to their demands and focusing on what's ahead. In the early evening, the glow of summer's end, as I lay me down to rest with you by my side. Can you fix my head? No sense in facing this all alone. No chance of getting out clean. You're fighting tears as you smile at me. The future we'll never see. Feel the breeze, see them live their lives with ease. Hear them laughing at you from their perches in the trees. When your life finally comes to rest in the place you least expect, when the world stops spinning, maybe we'll start again. Feel the breeze, try to put your mind at ease. Hear them laughing at you from their perches in the trees. And when it finally hurts inside, you point to each star in the sky. Say that's mine, yeah you're right, yeah you're right, yeah you're right.
Dear Eric and Twinkledad, I am interested in a girl, but I'm unsure we are compatible. I always run into her at Scram shows, so I know we at least have some musical taste overlap, but the only other thing I know about her is that she works a blue-collar job while I'm a white-collar professional. I am unsure if it's worth pursuing, further knowing that I would rather be with someone that has a similar lifestyle to me. How should I proceed? Sincerely, business casual at the Scrams gig.
So there's kind of when I think about this question, there's kind of two schools of thought that I have. I don't want to make assumptions about the individual who is asking this question, but one hand, leave the poor girl alone. Like that's kind of what I would say. I would my advice would be that probably 90%, if not more, of the young non-men who find themselves at shows and situations are not there because they're looking for a partner or a boyfriend or to be, hit on. Like, they're there because they like music and they want to see a band that they like and have a good time, maybe with their friends or, with the artist that they've been investing in. So that's kind of like my knee-jerk reaction to that a little bit. If I'm not being a dick and I'm being nice about it, I think realistically, like, I would just say, like, don't worry about it. Like the hopeless romantic in me, like, wants to believe that, if you are a person who has a capacity for real love and real care about this person, like, whether or not they make as much money as you or are in the same industry as you, really shouldn't matter at the end of the day. It's not my place to judge or to like, poke fun at, like, the awareness of those differences. But I think that like, if you're out there looking for love, it shouldn't matter. Like, you're gonna find your person. It doesn't really matter what job they work. It matters what they're into. It matters what movies they like. It matters what things that make them happy. You know what I mean? There's much more to a person than what job they do. And like you already said, like, you have some things in common. You do like some of the same stuff. So I would just lead with that. And if you are going to, I would say, put yourself in a situation where you risk getting the cold shoulder and risk getting told off and risk getting reminded that, this person may not be here to get hit on or to get chatted up. If you want to, go ahead and go with that, if that's worth it for you, then, just lead with art and lead with music and talk about the things that you're passionate about. Don't talk about the things that you're concerned about. Maybe I'm wrong, but I like people who talk about the shit that they like. I like people who talk about the things that they're passionate about. I like people who, their eyes light up when they start talking. And it can be the dumbest thing, right? Like, if Thomas the Tank Engine is what, like, gets you jazzed and your eyes light up when you start talking about Thomas the Tank Engine, then I'm like, okay, dude, tell me about Thomas the Tank Engine. Let's go. I love enthusiasm and I love passion, and I love to see other people get to experience that, because I know how good that feeling feels. So I would just lead with that. Talk about the shit that you like, talk about the things that you're passionate about, and then hopefully the best parts of you are going to shine through and they'll see that.
Yeah, I think I like that you just, like, openly discussed about your, like, knee-jerk reaction, because I think I agree. I always agree that, like, it's important to know business casual at the Scrams gig, like, all love and respect for you, but it's just sometimes just like, people are there to just fucking listen to the music, and I think just using that as a space to just kind of, like, ogle is probably never the move, unless there is, like, unless you have, like, unless the conversations y'all have had or the interactions have not been under, like, you, like, actively, like, searching for them.
Yeah.
Like, if it's more so this is, like, something that natural happened, like, sure, then that's, different thing.
I'm no expert, right? I'm no expert, but I think that people like to be seen as people first, and they like to be appreciated. And, it's fair to say, I think, not to interrupt you, but I think that, like, shows and the music scene, the power dynamic that kind of performance space sets up, like, it does create a space where people can romanticize things, where the lines between what is okay to objectify and what is not okay to, or what is okay to, ogle at and what is not okay to ogle at, like, those lines get really, really blurry, sometimes on purpose. Like, sometimes that's what the performer wants. They want to break down those barriers. They want to break down those boundaries. But in my experience, like, for the most part, I think that, like, and I think you would probably agree with this too, like, as, like, we don't exist in a vacuum as fans of this style of music, right? And as members of this community, like we don't exist in a vacuum. There's a reason why we seek out these types of events and these types of spaces. And I think it would be incredibly reductive to say that the only reason why people go to DIY shows is because they like the small band and that's the only place that they're playing. Like people like house shows, they like DIY shows, they like small clubs, they like intimate settings. Like that is a type of place that people are drawn to, and they want to experience music in that way. And as members of a community, like we have a bit of a responsibility to, you know, like not to be cliche, but like make it a safe space. Like we owe that to everyone. And maybe I have a more heightened, slightly more heightened sense of that because I'm aware of the power dynamic that exists between like me and my band. And like I'm asking these people to come to this show, and I'm not going to feel comfortable doing that unless I can guarantee that I'm not bringing them into an unsafe environment. And I think that while every band, every venue, every promoter has the explicit responsibility to do that and to uphold that, I think that also like the individual members of the community have a responsibility to do that too. And that can kind of be like an extension of that. And yeah, always approaching situations with respect first and trying to empathize and think about the personhood of the other person, I think is the way to go. Not even just in this particular instance, you know, like if there's a band that you like and you want to be friends with the singer, like you should approach that in a respectful way, and you should treat them like a person, and you should talk to them like a person. And same thing with the guy at the bar who's taking your drink order. You should talk to him like a person and not like, you know, and I think that general vibe is what's most important at the end of the day. And I think if you are going to approach someone at a show, doing it in a way that honors that, you know, yeah, I would say don't meet people at the show. That's not the place, right? But if you are, like, if you feel so strongly that is the right setting for you to do that, then, you know, approach it with respect, and approach it with respect, not just for that person, but with respect for the space that you're in, and the understanding that like people are here for a lot more than just to, you know, get hit on or looked at.
Yeah, no, absolutely valid. I think, you know, for business casual, it's like, if it's something that feels natural and that you can give respect to, do it. If you feel like you can't give respect to them, whether because like, one, they're just someone attractive you saw at a show, or you can't give respect to them because they don't work like the same job path as you, then just like, you know, it's okay not to like bother with it.
It's okay to leave them alone and let them live their life. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, you know, like, especially with like the whole like DIY world is like, you know, when people are fans of something, not even just like DIY, you can say like a mega pop star, you know, they would, their first instinct, if they saw them on the street because of that dynamic, would just to be punish them. Like, oh my goodness, I'm your biggest fan. And I think with the DIY world, you still have like that dynamic of here's like a performer I enjoy. Therefore, you're approaching them like, you're not real to me. And it's just like, no, I am, you know, like, and I think, you know, just kind of recognizing that, yeah, it's just like, it's a communion, it's a ritual, and that, you know, we should all share the same, you know, give artists or like other people the same respect you would give a family member.
And I would, you know, again, I'm no expert, but I would put money on the fact that if you know, business casual or whoever may be in the same situation, doesn't approach that situation with the respect that it deserves, or any of these situations with the respect it deserves, like you will get clapped back on eventually, and you will get put in your place, and you will get, you know, you will be reminded one way or another the correct way to act. And it won't be from two nice people on a podcast. It'll be from a big giant bouncer tossing you out onto the street in the rain. So yeah.
Yeah, or it'll be a stranger who you'll never see in your life who just wants to fucking
or
fight.
the singer of your favorite band punching you in the face and telling you that they never want to see you at their show ever again. And no one wants that situation. I don't want that for business casual. I'm sure they don't want that for themselves.
Yeah. So I think, if you had to give a song record to business casual, which song would you pick?
Leave the Biker by Fountains of Wayne.
Any particular reason?
Because he's basically just like objectifying and like wishing that this girl was his girlfriend the whole song and doesn't understand why she's dating a biker dude. And I think that that's a really funny premise for a song. So some of the like lyrical choices too, like he talks about like, I've never heard a song with the words like seafood crumbs in his beard from the seafood special. Like that's an incredible lyric. And I never thought that I would hear that in a power pop song. So
yeah, I think, excellent choice. I think Fountains of Wayne. I think I had something going on in my mind when we were talking about like Sweet Tooth and like I guess just like the pop choices is like
Fountains of Wayne is a huge influence on Sweet Tooth. Yeah.
Yeah, I think growing up is realizing how good Fountains of Wayne is because like it's just solid, amazing songwriting.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I have to shout out Josh from the Wonder Years, bass player of the Wonder Years, because we toured together a handful of years ago, and we were talking about Stacy's mom and subsequently Fountains of Wayne, and he looked at me and he said, "Have you ever listened like to the rest of that album?" And I was like, "No." Like, why would I? It's like, everybody knows it's Stacy's mom. Like, that's the song, right? And he was like, do yourself a favor and like listen just to the rest of that album. Just like see if you get halfway through it, because it's a long record. And I put it on that night on the drive, and I never looked back. Like, Stacy's mom is arguably the least interesting song like on that whole record. You know what I mean? Like, it's so freaking good. And how it translates to Sweet Tooth really was that I love how that album in particular, Welcome Interstate Managers, like each song sonically just did what the song required. Some of the songs sound country western. Some of the songs sound straight power pop. Some of the songs are like ballads with piano and harp and like all these crazy instruments and stuff. And we wanted to do that kind of approach. So, but yeah, tangent.
Yeah, no, I think also a lovely note to end on, because Leave the Biker really does what the song needs to do. And exactly. I think, yeah, for business casual, that's just a really solid note to end it on.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, any final words to this letter sender, this question sender?
Godspeed. That's all I'll say. Godspeed. Good luck with whatever you got going on. I do wish you the best. Good luck.
Fucking Godspeed and all the respect to you.
Yes.
Hopefully you will give to other people.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Eric, for this opportunity and for hopping on the podcast.
Of
and
course.
Business Casual for sending in a question. So this is Leave the Biker by Fountains of Wayne. Thank you all so much. I love you all, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
Seems the further from town I go, the more I hate this place. He's got leather and big tattoos, scars all over his face. And I wonder if he ever has cried, 'cause he couldn't get a date for the prom. He's got his arm around every man's dream, and crumbs in his beard from the seafood special. Oh, can't you see my world is falling apart? Baby, please leave the biker, break his heart. Baby, please leave the biker, break his heart. Now his friend leans over and says, looks like we got us a fag. I wonder if that guy's read one word that wasn't in a porno mag. And I wonder if he ever has cried, 'cause his kitten got run over and died. He's got his arm around every man's dream, and crumbs in his special. Oh, can't you see my world is falling apart? Baby, please leave the biker, leave the biker, break his heart. Baby, please leave the biker, leave the biker, break his heart. And I wonder if he ever has cried 'cause he couldn't get a date for the prom. He's got his arm around every man's dream, and crumbs in his beard from the seafood special. Oh, can't you see my world is falling apart? Baby, please leave the biker, leave the biker, break his heart. Baby, please leave the biker, leave the biker, break his heart. Baby, please leave the biker, leave the biker, break his heart.